Hello everyone. Welcome to your favorite show, Nari to Narayani, presented by Inspiring Indian Women and METV. I'm Sneha Jain, your host for this Independence Day special series on women and justice. In the first part, we had some insightful discussions with Seema Samriti Kushwaha, who is a renowned lawyer, advocate, and a legal advisor who also handled the Nirbhaya case in India very astutely and won it. We also had with us Jess Appel, a renowned attorney in the UK. She is a human rights activist as well and who also worked on Sarabjit's case. In this part, we will continue our discussion with Jess, but before that, I would like to start off with a few lines of a poem that I wrote, and I think many of us can relate with it too. You wouldn't be worried for the daughter's own lane, if only you taught your sons to be humane. That promotion for which you blamed my smile, if only you witnessed me burning the midnight oil. You loved me for being feisty and strong, if only you knew I would bring my wits along. That freedom they say I'm bestowed upon, exactly with this claim, my independence is gone. Dear world, I do not seek special reservations. If only I could change spiteful perceptions. With a small effort in this direction, let me please welcome again Jas Appal with us. A very warm welcome, Jas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Thank you.
Uh, Jas, we would first start off with the major challenges faced by women and the causes behind those. So, if you could throw some light over that around the world, the women are facing challenges, whatever they are, and why do they have to face those challenges?
Well, the challenges are straightforward to list. It's equality, freedom of expression, independence, and being able to do the things that they want to do and not be controlled, I suppose. Those are the major challenges around the world in various forms and contexts, and also um, to various scales. So it varies from one area to another.
So, in terms of the challenges related to safety or, say, access to judiciary related matters and all those, what is your take on that?
I think again it varies across the world. So you've got the extreme where there's no sort of facility or ways to access justice, for safety. That you, for example, in certain cultures in certain areas of the world, women are not allowed to go out. Full stop. Unless they're chaperoned. So, and then in the West, there's the safety condition. Issues that may remain, going out at night, whether it's safe to do so as a lone woman. So it varies across the world, and there's different challenges and there's different ways of dealing with it. Obviously, I say obviously, but in the West, we are allowed to go out by ourselves. There are the safety issues, even so. A lot of women carry their key rings in their hand when they're alone in case something happens, even in the West. That sort of thing happens here at night. So in case they have to, if they are confronted, to face those challenges. And then when we have certain high profile cases where a woman has been attacked or worse, murdered, then it obviously heightens the safety aspect of it. And then you've also got in the West, if you go out exercising, you get, may get people think that they can freely talk to you, make comments as if you're public property. But, and obviously in other parts of the world, you are not allowed to go out, that you wouldn't be considered an issue. It would be considered an issue. And especially if you're going out for enjoyment, that's not tolerated or accepted in certain cultures and areas of the world. Obviously, that's unacceptable. Even though we've got in England, I'm from England, we've got the laws, the legislation about safety, what you can do, and we've got cameras, CCTV, So there's creating free spaces for women to feel safe and be able to enjoy their lives as anyone, as a man would be able to do so.
So, just that's very well explained about the people in general and women in general around the world. Now, we would like to discuss about the challenges faced by South Asian women, maybe in India or say UK as well. But yeah, majorly in Indian context, we would like to know and definitely the causes for these.
Certainly. Obviously, I can speak. I can't speak for all the Asian women in England, but again, we're subject to the same laws as the country. So it doesn't matter whether you're from South Asia or any part of the world. If you live in England, you're subject to English laws, English and Welsh laws. So that doesn't matter. But I'm sure that there are, communities of people from various parts of the world, including India, who are settled here, and they are living parallel lives. I've often observed that. So they know obviously that they're in England and that there's these laws, etc. But you find there's that still cultural attachment, things that were done back at home. There's that continuation of that going on here, and they may be unaware of their rights here in England. But there are various groups, for example, citizen advice bureaus and women's rights groups who can draw them to their attention. And I think there should be some sort of responsibility on part of community centres, in say if it's Asian, Indian communities living here, Indian community centres or faith groups, temples, gurdwaras, where there should be a focus on discussing and letting people know that there are sort of support available. So, for example, if there's domestic violence, you don't have to stand up and say, I'm a victim of domestic violence. But if that conversation, if there's notice boards in the community centres, in the faith-based places such as gurdwaras, temples, etc., then they know where to go, who they can talk to in confidence. And I think that needs to be stressed as well. It's all confidential. It shouldn't be discussed, and it wouldn't be discussed in a meeting or something. It would be one-to-one, and notes may be taken, and then the victim would be prepared, would be informed and signposted to all the support that's available on a confidential basis. And also we've got data protection legislation, which means that any information given in confidence should remain, and if there's a breach, there will be consequences. So it's providing that assurance, letting people know, men and women, that there are these safety and support groups that are available should they wish to talk in confidence. And of course, there's legal advice. In England, we have a system where the state funds legal advice. So a lady may think, well, I can't do this because I'll have to pay for it and I don't get the money. My husband may keep the money, doesn't give me it, and I can't tell him I'm going to see the lawyers or solicitors about this matter. So the government provides sort of legal aid support for that, so that you can get advice and assistance.
That's a very
And of
good
course, there's
point, actually.
legislation. Apology.
Most of the women or say the victims, they're not aware of the fact that they don't have to rely for financial aid in terms to most of the times, I mean, don't have to rely on the say the person who is abusing them for the financial aid, because that will never happen, right? They won't appreciate you complaining against them. Just I would like to know, do we also, because it's people say that we're getting more and more educated, people are getting richer at times, so their mentality is changing, people, the world is becoming more open and things like that, but are we still in a position to say that we do not face marital rapes, domestic abuse, domestic violence, and all such kind of problems or say issues with women a lot like we used to do earlier? Or how is the scenario? Because you being an attorney, you would have a better, perspective and idea about it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can have legislation forever, but the problem still exists, and people need to be aware of the legislation and the fact that a marital rape is rape. It's against the law. Well, it certainly is in this country. A few years ago, I won't mention names, but I was absolutely astounded when a lawyer in India, a very prominent lawyer in India, claimed that it wasn't marital rape, was not rape. And I thought, well, hang on, you're a lawyer, you should know better. You need to read up and have it take a world view, have comparative systems, look at comparative systems. For example, in the UK universities, etc., we have courses where you do comparative studies. So the law in America, USA law, English law, you can sort of learn off that. It's no good reinventing the wheel. So if something already exists, you need to look at that and see how it can be implemented in, say, for example, India or other places, to understand how that law came about and how it could work in say, India or elsewhere. It's a mindset. It's about education. You can have the most educated people who still have that insular, backward, to put it bluntly, mindset. So again, they may live parallel world lives. There might be a professional on the face of it. They've got the education qualifications, but they still believe a woman's place is at home, or they've got certain constraints. You can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, I've had some very interesting conversations with ladies who want to do something, and you sort of encourage them to say, there was one lady I came across some years ago who was very interested in protecting a minority group, and she wanted to know how to go about it. I advised her, and I said, well, if you want to take it further, we can have a meeting, set this up, and move it forward. Oh, she said, I'll ask my husband. And I sort of, well, obviously it wasn't my place to say anything. And she never came back. So presumably, I assumed that she asked her husband and he said no, or something else came up. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be your interest as an individual, because I'm sure the husband's not going to ask her if he wanted to fight a cause or join a club or what, or have an interest in something. So it's again about independence and understanding that women are human beings and that they've got interests that they might wish to pursue, and it should be seen as it should be welcomed. It shouldn't be scrutinised or thought of as the worst scenario. Oh, she's flying away, sort of thing, and she's going to neglect all her duties. I think there's that lack of understanding that women are capable of multitasking and that they can have interests as well as run family homes, be a mother, a wife, etc. So it's encouraging that, and I think that exists all over the world. It's not limited to India. And again, it's a question of degrees. It's worse in certain cases or certain countries than in others. We haven't got it right, but certain countries are well on their way to that. And I think the fundamental thing is understanding that it's how you evolve. That's how communities in the world evolve. You can't be stuck in that mindset. You've got to move on. Otherwise, what are we doing here? What's the point of having education if when you go back home you're expected to be just wife or mother or whatever you're supposed to be? You can't fit in those roles. And I think a lot of like for example in India, a lot of the movies and stuff that they're sort of very focused on that sort of thing rather than intellectual debate or discussions or intellectual messages. I think that's another medium that could be used to explain intellectually, and to change mindsets, because a lot of people watch the television, and I think discussions on radio shows, people in this day of technology and multimedia. It should be made as discussion so that it reaches to people that you may not think are going to, say, watch television or haven't got access to a television, and there are those people there. But if you had a program in their own languages, I think that would be another way. And of course, through the schools, the next generation to have those sort of discussions, sort of suitable to the child's age. To start that. And of course, it would be in school, it would be boys and girls. So the boys would understand and learn how they are expected to behave or what's expected to them. And if they're taught at a very early age that women are equal, girls are equal to boys, then hopefully they'll grow up respecting that.
That's absolutely true. So you a lot of good takeaways in this one section of your answer. First, there is a lot of lack of information and awareness within the society, and it could be in any part of the world, in any sect, anywhere. Second thing, even if people are aware, most of the times they are able to exercise their rights and their duties because of the stigma and the taboos around you, or probably the opinions, and especially around in case of women, it is expected that women have to do as expected from their family and others. However, it should be the same thing for both, as it for male, female, men, husband, wife, everyone. But generally, like you said, it becomes only the responsibility of wives to listen to the elders and things like that. And the third thing, how can we actually reach out to the masses and explain, increase that level of awareness and explain them the importance of this? That's very well said, Jess. We would like to know more about the impact. So let's take it in two parts. Say first one would be, say, the negative impacts, or say how it is affecting the society and the economies around the world, and specifically when we talk about India, because we've been talking in terms of South Asian and Indian women, and so as to focus and help them more. And the second thing is, we would like to know about the positives of having those impacts and that awareness and that stuff with respect to all those. We would like to go on a break, but we will first, before that, we'll give you 1 minute to answer the first half of it, the negative aspects of it, and then we can continue probably.
Thank you very much, Sneha. Well, the negative is obvious, and that is that it makes sure that the society remains stagnant, and also it means that you can't progress. You're excluding a huge amount of population, say, for example, from the workplace. I mean, if these women, they're so capable of multitasking, if you could put that in a sort of meaningful, constructive environment where they can apply that knowledge, meaning the workplace, then surely that's a good thing. It would mean development of, for example, India, further development of India, evolving, remain as you. What's going around the world at the moment, it demonstrates that where you try to suppress that community, that society doesn't progress any further forward, and the mentality remains the same. They'll never escape that if you continue that suppression. It should be viewed as an asset, which is the positive side of things. So I think that a lot needs to be done in terms of education and legislation to control that. You've got to have equality legislation to prevent women being discriminated against. And I don't know how far that has progressed in India.
Okay, so that was insightful, as in to understand the negative aspects or the adverse effects of all these problems that women face around the world. Just we will continue with the second half of the question after the break. We must go for a break now, and to the audience, please stay tuned with us. Do not go anywhere. We still have a lot of conversation left with Jess. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
At LV, We know some things just work better when you put them together. Like when you buy both your car and your home insurance with us. Because with our new discount, you'll save 10%. And we're a Which recommended provider for car and home insurance too. LV. It's our heart that sets us apart. Buy direct at lv.com.
Prescription is perfect. The prescription is actually perfect.
Really clear vision, feel comfortable. These are great.
I think I do need to stress the quality of the glasses. It just feels, really good.
Retail somewhere around £50, something like that. They feel really good quality. They don't feel cheap at all. £6 for everything.
For £6, you really can't go wrong. Even if you've got a spare, a backup pair of glasses, I think you really can't go wrong.
When that's the value that you can get, why would you shop anywhere else?
Who are we if we allow our oldest friends to suffer and die? If we let our forests be cut down and destroyed? Who are we? It's time to decide. We could be the generation that lost it all, or we can be the ones that chose to fight. Please call the number on screen or search WWF Join Us to become a WWF member and join the fight to save our world.
I'm generally a meat guy.
I love a bit of mammoth.
These corn nuggets are well tasty.
Plus, eating them could help save the planet in 40,000 years' time.
Beefcakes don't need beef. And I'm going fancy for the kids. Ha!
Fair play, lad. Fair play.
Help lower your carbon footprint by switching to Quorn, helping the planet one bite at a time.
Love that feeling? Join the AA, the UK's #1. Our patrols will usually get you back on the road in around 30 minutes of getting to you. Plus, we'll give you unlimited call-outs, so we'll always be there when you need us. Love that feeling? We'll get you back on the road from £6 a month. The AA. Join today at theaa.com.
Key is here to answer all your questions on equity release. Which plan, for instance, is right for you? Key has a wide range of plans to suit different needs, and with competitive rates and options such as inheritance protection, we're sure to find the plan that's right for you. All Key's advice is completely free of charge, so use our free calculator to see how much you could release. Key, equity release that's right for you.
Let's get into it, Peloton.
Let it flow. Reach all the way up.
Find your own zone and push it. In 3, 2, 1, go!
Are you ready? Woo! Let's kick off this outdoor run. Let's go, Peloton.
So many Peloton newbies on the leaderboard today.
Try Peloton classes free for 30 days on the app. For your free brochure, call 0800 999 5555 now. Rise, recline, relax with Oak Tree Mobility.
Care wildly with £10 off your first order at bloomandwild.com.
What can businesses do to help fight the climate crisis?
Alcune idee ce le ho.
Do more sustainable farming. It's a thing now.
Use wind or solar.
Protégeme agua. Go all electric faster. I dare you. I'm only 6. You figure it out. What's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
Welcome back to MATV and Inspiring Indian Women present Nari to Narayani. We have with us Jasapal, and she was just answering a few questions around the positive impacts on the world's societies and economies of women being aware of their rights and exercising them, and thinking bigger and doing better. So, Jas, over to you.
Thank you. Right, the positive sides of having women in positions of power and in the workplace, obviously, it's the younger generation would aspire to. It means you can have a perspective from a woman in the workplace, contribution to the economy, and also some interesting developments in this country. For example, in medicine, they've discovered that all the data that's been previously collected has been from a male perspective in relation to, say, just another example of heart attacks. And that hasn't, therefore, that data collected hasn't captured the impact that it has had on women, the medical treatment and heart attacks, etc. And that differential has only been recently discovered, that there is something that needs to be looked at, examined, how it impacts women. So therefore, and it would be, and it was a female scientist who discovered that the data previously collected and applied to medicine, etc., didn't factor in women or certain specific women-specific data wasn't collected, and therefore women were more susceptible to death and late diagnosis of certain conditions. So women bring in another perspective, which is valuable. It should be deemed valuable. Should be looked at positive. For example, you in India they've got women who work on the building sites. We haven't got that in England. It's rare. We do, but usually in a professional sort of aspect. For example, project manager, architect, etc. But not as a labourer. That's rare. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying in certain societies, in Indian society, you've got that, but you haven't got the protection for her rights. They're wearing saris. There's no sort of PPE, personal protection equipment, or with regard to safety, and they're probably underpaid. It's you're seeing them in movies or news reports, and again that side of thing needs to be looked at. The positive side is, as I say, you get contribution, you get women's perspective on things, input from women, and also because India is the largest democracy, it reflects that they have empowered women. It's empowerment. Women become independent. They can make choices. They can contribute to the family's income. So it should be seen and viewed as an asset. It's no good having degrees in order. The impression I get looking inside, not a criticism, but it's a fact. There's a lot of educated Indian women, but it seems to stop after they get married, or it's used as a tool, or she's got a degree or several degrees as a marriage thing. It's not thereafter. Is it applied? Does she end up becoming a housewife and not allowed to use those qualifications, which would not only bring in money, it would be an asset to the country. Also, you've got this massive profile as a democracy. You'll be engaging with other women from other countries or other people generally from other countries. You want to project that you are equal. You're not, you believe and you value women's rights. So, and also encouraging young ladies or young girls about the STEM subjects, the science subject, technology, and mathematics, etc. That should be encouraged because those are very vital to a developing economy and viewed as an asset. And competitions, other women helping each other out, mentoring. For example, what we're trying to do, one of our organisations, our charitable organisations, are trying to mentor law students in other countries, get them interested in human rights and law generally. So we provide internships, and I think if we did that, if engineers did that, engineering companies, it brings in new ideas, it brings in contact with young people, the next generation, working with universities, setting projects for to if you've got a problem as an engineer, you're trying to do and you can't resolve it, then you either pay somebody out to come into your engineering firm and try and solve the situation, or you can contact a university where hopefully there's both men and women, male students who can address that problem, and you're getting that for half of the price you would in employing somebody else or a consultant from overseas. So there's quite a number of ways you can do that. It's actually engaging it and seeing value in it. If you don't see value in it, then there's no point. But if you see value of a woman being educated and how she can contribute, not just to the family, but to society, the wider community, and the country, if you view it that way, then it's a valuable asset, which at the moment is lying asleep in places like India, because it's not harnessed. Unfortunately, with COVID, there's been a recognition that there is a lack of health workers, right from sort of auxiliary, absolutely, to consultants, medical consultants. So why not encourage women to join at any strata, at any level, whether it's auxiliary or going on to be a doctor, consultant, professor, you name it, you do it. I think it's extremely valuable, and certain countries are not, and certain societies are not taking full use of that. And also it means that society is not allowed to evolve. If you don't do that, you stay stagnant, and we all know what's happened when societies become stagnant and do not value women or what they have to say. It's we are human beings, and we should be respected as such, and there should be legislation to reinforce that, and it should be enforced, because I am also aware that that there is some good legislation out there, for example in India, but it's not enforced. And if it's not enforced, well, what's the point of having legislation? The other thing that really has been drawn to my attention recently, women who've been victims of violence, whether they've been hit or raped or etc., they have a real problem reporting that to the police, because of the embarrassment that they've made to feel awkward, and there's not enough female police officers within the police forces who are trained to deal with it. So a victim may feel better talking to a female officer. But I don't.
So you're saying if we there and if we do a lot of study and probably collaborate more across the geographies around the world, and probably we can not just say earn some respect for ourselves, but also pay our say sort of a contribution towards the growth of an economy as well, or multiple economies as well, right? But just I would like to do more in terms of what shackle us women toward from moving toward these goals, or say dreams, or even from dreaming and all. What are the shackles for us?
Women themselves. You've got to be strong enough. You can't blame somebody else. If you feel so strongly about something, you'll do it. You won't wait to give the red light. You don't need somebody to give you the green light. Sorry.
And other things, right? Yes, that's definitely true that women themselves have to step up. They have to dare to dream, and then probably go beyond the thinking of the society, and then move ahead. and show the world that they are worth something. But what if there is a particular woman, or there is a sect, or there are, say, thousands of females who are doing that? But what about the safety, the taboos, and the other things within the society which tell women that you're not made for this, and all such things? So what do you think? Are those shackles in reality, or it's just there in our minds, or can we get through them? Can that be taken care of by law or by other means?
I definitely think my answer at the beginning, it is women. It's your mindset. It's what you think. What you think may not is your perception. It's not may not be what other people think. If they think like that then it's their problem, not your problem. If you are strong and you are minded and determined to do what you want to do, you would go ahead and do it. You don't need to explain. You do need to, you know, if somebody is good enough to ask you, you can explain as much as you want to, but you don't have to justify it. You shouldn't need to do that. You should, if you feel strongly, you go ahead. In my, which was an actual case, a lady wanted, and her intentions were absolutely admirable. She wanted to improve the lot of a community that she was part of. And she listened to everything and then finished off by saying, well, I'll ask my husband. And I thought, that contradicts what you're trying to do. You don't, you know, she felt, I got the impression she felt she needed that permission, and that shouldn't be it, you know. A discussion, yes, obviously.
What if that permission is made by consent? And that is something which is forced upon her. That even if, say, she would have returned home, and then that husband, or say family, anyone would have just said that, why didn't you ask us before taking that decision? And then those beatings and all those things would have come into picture. Is she not right asking them?
No,
if this was
yeah. No, I think it's a discussion. It's like if you're buying something for the house, I don't know, a fridge or something, you would discuss it with your family about what you want, what the needs are, price and everything. That's fine. In the same way, you can discuss that. Well, look, I'd like to do this. What do you think? You ask for permission, a discussion, a two-way process. You shouldn't have to have permission, because if we're told by the law and the religion that you know, marriage is a partnership, then that's doing. You're discussing. You should not be requesting permission.
So yes,
you
two
know,
major important takeaways from this discussion, at least for this question, that one, there should be mutual discussions. It's not like I'm asking, I need to discuss within the family. That's one. The second thing is, if you have faith in yourself, and if you know that what you're doing is righteous, you're not doing anything illegal or unethical or something like that. If you're doing something for someone else's or your own good without harming others, then you shouldn't be afraid of the society, family, and other things. And you can go ahead, and probably, if you have that courage, you can probably convince them as well. And if not, you can just decide to move out and do the thing which is right.
Yeah, that would be a bit drastic. It depends on what you want to do, but you see, you can't go away from other people's opinions, but those do not matter. You know, if you feel it's the right thing, you do it. You just don't need permissions, and then the results come out in whatever the conclusion is of your project, or whatever you're trying to achieve. I mean, if you start listening to people, you'd go mad. I remember a lot of I'm an Indian lady, NRI lady, young lady who went to India, to her village, rural village in the Punjab, and she would they would have to go to shops and hire a taxi in order to go to shops to do their shopping and everything. And the arrangement was the taxi driver, well, that wasn't the arrangement, but they would phone up the taxi driver. He would turn up. If they called in the morning, he'd turn up in the afternoon, which was no good. And then he would take them to the shops that he would get commission from for bringing an NRI in. And so what this young lady did was, she thought, well, I can't wait around for him. So she actually got herself a little car so that she could go to the shop, buy food for her family, and they could eat in and be independent. So it was talk of the village that this lady's, this NRI girl or whatever has come over, and she, she's a loose woman. She's got her independence. She's going driving a car, but they didn't stop to think that she was doing that in order to go and buy food for her family, not rely on the taxi driver, so she could be independent. She could go and take her family wherever she wanted to, then park the car, and go back home to England, etc. So they didn't see that as, wow, she should be praised, she should be admired. The fact that she's gone out, thought about it, and thought, well, I can't rely on this taxi driver or other taxi drivers, and I need to have the use of a car so I can be free and buy food and take my family. So instead of applauding her, some members of the community thought, well, God knows what they thought, but that she was overreaching and she should remain down. So surely doesn't that reflect the mindset of people with issues themselves, for them to think, I mean, what did they expect her to do with the car? It wasn't seen as a positive, it was seen as a negative. But you can't wait to that. If we started waiting and getting permissions, you wouldn't have in the case of India, the women's who were involved in the space program. That wouldn't have happened if we applied the same sort of mentality. So
we're nearing the end of the episode as well, but we would like to touch upon a few things. So you've mentioned about women, their mindset, but what should be done at the grassroots level in the society, one? And in the second half, you can probably explain what should government and judiciary be doing for, in terms of justice for women so that they can grow.
Certainly. Well, in the grassroots at grassroots level, as you say, I think again it's about education and the schools. It should be in the schools curriculum because it's the law about equality and that women have got rights, etc. So why isn't it taught the subject matter? Whether it is, it may be, I don't know. In countries like India, as civic studies that these are women's rights, the respect, and you're individual, and you contribute to society, your local community, and you can, and to the country. If you have that sort of thing, and also it's got to be seen. So, like in the rural parts of India, for example, they have those councils. I understand they're called panchayats. Well, are there women there? Do they participate? Do they get a say? And also voting. I mean, I don't know how women can vote if they are so restricted or told what to think. Vote is extremely dangerous thing. A vote. So they need to be politically illiterate in order to exercise them, understand and know the all. And also, it starts a debate. Talking is a good thing. It's debate. You learn something. You learn about yourself. You learn about other people. But if you're asking in a family, I have heard of this in a rural family. Well, who should I vote? So that is block voting. That's wrong. So if they had education, they would know what their rights are. They would know which party to vote. They won't have to ask members of the family, well, where should I put my cross? So again, people need to be, the governments and politicians and whatnot, they need to be mindful of that how important that is. But it's not just about voting, it's about scrutiny. So if they understand what the manifesto is,
understand their rights and the values that they bring to the table, basically. So even in educated families, even in the UK, I've seen that people do ask their husbands or say spouses or elders in the family, who should they be voting to? So instead, they should probably try and reach out to the manifestos and then read them out and then probably decide for themselves. So this should be in the minds, like you said, initially as well. That's the mindset change that we require in the society as a whole. Just what do you think would independence be in the true sense for women?
Freedom. It's freedom, free to think, free to do whatever you want to, and if you are free to do that, you are empowered, you contribute to not just your family, your community, and you're valued for your views, and to the whole country. So I think there's a lot that the politicians, the governments can do as well, educating, valuing women's sort of place, and valuing them as women, and also going back to politics, voting and stuff. That's important. How many of these politicians sort of have manifestos for women? There's no. In India, I have never come across that. In my interest in what's going on there, there's no appealing to women. This is what we will do if we are elected, and this definitely does not exist at local, state level. They don't appeal. They appeal to the men to go back home, which is block voting, which in some countries is illegal. But again, it should be, and also manifestos should be targeted at women, not just targeted at women, but actually distributed to all the communities, and that doesn't happen. And I don't know how savvy they are on the computers, whether women in the rural areas will have access to a computer to compare the manifestos of the various parties. So they could assert them, and also complaining. There should be more organisation by women's groups, communities, even if they're in rural areas. There should be some sort of where they help each other, a network, and where they help each other to find
each other, and all those things. Women to women support, sisterhood, and those things. Right. Just one final message to the women out there, and one final message for the society, including men and governments, judiciary systems, everything. So 2 things.
Right. Okay. My message to the men is basically, respect. Respect the women, and you should expect to treat them as same way you would expect to be treated. They're human beings. They're not. They're not just a different species, and they shouldn't be treated as such. And as for governments. As for community at large, they should value that. They should see women as an asset as to what they can do. And I think people who are fortunate enough to travel around the world, they will see women in high positions and making decisions at all levels. And just think, if you had that in your own country, how wonderful that would be, how fast the development would be, and effective the decisions would be.
Definitely. So we are nearing the end. Thanks so much for being with us, Just. I would like to end with one message to all the ladies out there. It's not mine. The statement which I'm just about to state is a line by Vivian Green, a famous writer. So I would just like to end this episode with the line that life is not about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning how to dance while it is raining. So do not complain, move ahead, dare to dream, dare to do, and then try to make the world better. So here's me signing off from Nari to Narayani. So stay tuned with MATV, and then stay tuned with Nari to Narayani. We'll be back very soon with a new episode and with new guests to help others, societies, and ourselves. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.